All right, just came across this article from the New York Post, and it says men need to lower their standards on dating apps. New study shows. Okay, let's see what they have to say, and then I'll just give my feedback specific to this study. All right, there has been a long theory on dating apps. 80% of women are pursuing the top 20% of men. But the new research reveals it's actually fellas who are aiming too high when swiping for love. International researchers analyzed the behaviors of almost 3,000 heterosexual users of a Czech dating app, with their findings published earlier this week in the PLOS One journal. Men tended to express interest in women who were more desirable than themselves, while women typically pursue men of more similar desirability, the team uncovered. To classify how desirable each user was, researchers counted the number of swipes they received from other people on the app. There were more male users, meaning that female users generally ranked more highly in this hierarchy. Despite being spoiled for choice, the research revealed that women sometimes chose slightly less desirable partners on average. However, the study showed that successful matches tended to happen between people with similar levels of desirability. Thus, to avoid feeling frustrated and rejected when using dating apps, the research suggests that men should be realistic about their own desirability and not attempt to date out of their league. Our research on Czech online dating apps shows that while men often aim high when choosing whom to contact, successful matches tend to happen between people with similar levels of desirability. This pattern is largely the result of rejection rather than an initial preference for similarity. The successful matching outcomes tend to align more closely with women's preference than men's. This likely reflects women's stronger position in the online dating market, as men outnumber women and are often expected to make the first move. Now that's really funny that they will come to that conclusion, I guess, based on this study that they use based in a totally different location, not even in America. They use a Czech dating app, and I looked at some of the details on the study. One of the most relevant factors that they did mention, but they basically scoffed over, was the fact that it's more men than women. By definition, there's going to be higher desirability amongst the population that's lower. People go on that dating app and they're looking for something, okay? And that is, and what tends to happen is men are a lot less picky, mainly because the intent on the dating app is not the same for every single person. Specifically, the men, if we're going off a rating system, the 8, 9, 10 men get a lot of options, and it does not mean that they're seeking relationships from every single person that they swipe on. And that's a big difference. It seems like women tend to go in there for an entirely different experience, and by definition, since and I said one of the studies I looked at in a small town apparently in Czech, and it was like 624 active users, and then how they get to 3,000 is another location in Czech. But the 624, they said like 20% were women. So by definition, the desirability, how they rate desirability, is completely illogical. Because what's taking place on these dating apps is there's a bunch more men, hundreds more men that are swiping on a smaller pool of women. And the fact that they said that there are women that still were men tend to express interest in women who are more, while women typically pursue men of similar desirability. How the hell does that happen? Especially when it's an 80-20 split. That amongst the 80% of men, there is actually men that have a swipe statistic similar to that of the smaller pool of women. How that happens is that the women still go for the top guys. So most of the men are being ignored, which means the higher swipe desirability men are getting all the swipes, and that's the only one that they're saying that connect with those men. So probably average to above average women are only going for above average men. And even the below average women think they're better than majority of the some above average and lower men. That's what's happening here. It's they basically they validated the, not a theory, because they looked at statistical data to come to that conclusion that women, like all the women, go for like a small pool of men. That it's not a theory. That's what's happening here too. So that's the only, and that's what distorts the dating market, because you know, a, a 7, 8, 9 or 8, 9, 10 guy, top tier guy, depending on the day of the week, they might go for a a 3 or 4 for easy sex. And now the 3 or 4 thinks they're above the 3 or 4 guy. They even think they're above the 6 guy. That rates a 6, a little bit above average. They think because they got a taste of 8, 9, 10 on a drunken night, they now can get a full-blown relationship from 8, 9, 10. Completely distorts the dating market. And it's no actual self being realistic with oneself and one's actual options. And this dumb data, again, it's not even based in America, is now trying to essentially get, to some degree, even the 8, 9, 10 guys, they're trying to get them to basically shop below what they can get. They want the what we would consider the below average women to be able to obtain the above average men. And and I think that's total garbage. At the end of the day, if you want to tell one group, hey, get what you feel like you deserve, the other group gets to get whatever they feel they deserve too. It's going to be a trashy market for both parties, because this is completely unrealistic to tell one. So try to undermine a statistical fact that, yes, most women go for the top 20% men. This study, though they try to, shoot a different narrative, confirms that to be true too. And you basically, your whole talking point is to tell them or try to shame them, or really what they're also doing, they're trying to shame average guys from going after average women, or maybe an above average looking woman. When it comes to relationships, it's way more than looks, especially when you get older. You learn that. But that's my my points to be put into this topic from a boring man. And you have any feedback, tell me how you feel in the comment section below.